I'm Meg, and welcome to PlantFit Meg. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my vegan story and why I decided to go vegan, and just a little bit about how that came about. So it was the year 2016, and I had been cancer-free for 10 years and was very, very excited about that milestone. I also was a new mom. My son was 4 months old at the time, and my husband and I were trying to decide what his first solid foods would be. And with these two things, being cancer-free for a decade and with having a newborn at home, I really was reflecting on my past and considering what my future was going to look like in terms of health and longevity and reducing future disease risk. And these were things that I didn't really think about too much after my cancer diagnosis and going through treatment and all of that, because when you have cancer, you're sort of put on this conveyor belt, for lack of a better word. So you're put into this system, the health system, and you're taken care of medically, and you're not presented with alternative options or, anything related to health or nutrition, really. So I had traditional treatment when I had ovarian cancer. Back in 2006, I had a couple of surgeries as well as chemotherapy. And so I had no idea that nutrition might play a role or might have impact on my disease. So fast forward 10 years and I have my 4-month-old at home, and all these thoughts are swirling through my head, and I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to be healthy and happy and strong and give him the best start possible in life. So I started to watch some documentaries. I sometimes joke with people that Netflix made me vegan because that's where I started watching some documentaries and getting some information. So the first one I watched was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead with Joe Cross. I also watched Forks Over Knives, which had a very big impact on me. I watched Cowspiracy, and I also watched Chris Carr's Crazy Sexy Cancer. And so these documentaries really got me thinking and got me pointed in the direction of a plant-based diet. But I was still skeptical. I wanted to do my own research. I wanted to find other resources and other information about it. So I went online, I went digging, found nutritionfacts.org and other great websites like Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and decided that I would go vegan. And I decided to do it overnight, and that we would feed our son a vegan diet. And my husband wasn't fully on board with being fully plant-based, but he's always very supportive of anything I want to do or try. So he was very open to it and just sort of was like, if that's what you want to do and you think that's what's best for you, then go for it, give it a try. So I started out fairly solidly whole food plant-based. I was nervous about consuming processed vegan foods because I thought I might become quite reliant on them. And I was very unsure about what the taste or texture would be and if I would even enjoy them. So just to backtrack, I did start with a juice fast. That was the very first thing I did after I made the decision. So I followed the Reboot with Joe program, which is Joe Cross's juice fast program. I did a 5-day juice fast with one hot meal in the middle of it. That one hot meal was potatoes and vegetables, just mixed frozen vegetables and roasted potatoes. And it was the most delicious meal I have ever had, because after having juice for a couple of days, a mix of 80% vegetable, 20% fruit juice, that just tasted amazing. And that was my goal. I wanted to do something drastic, do something that I'd never done before, and really reset my taste buds, reset my palate, and just kind of hit the reset button on my tastes. And that's what happened. And so I started from there. I was definitely not someone who enjoyed being in the kitchen or liked cooking or doing dishes or anything like that. So it was a little bit tricky in the beginning. I kept it as simple as possible though. I focused on the things that I was eating that were already vegan, like fruit and oatmeal and rice and potatoes and things like that I really loved. And then I just omitted the animal product from any recipe that I was doing. So my mom has this great chili recipe, and I would use that, and instead of using ground meat in it, I would substitute beans. So I just made really simple swaps to start out to keep it very simple and very easy. I would eat whole wheat pasta with marinara sauce and veggies thrown in, and again, I would just omit any animal product from it. So that's how I got started, and that's why I made the decision to go vegan. It was really for health reasons first, and eventually I did watch 101 Reasons to Go Vegan on YouTube, and I also watched Earthlings, and those gave different perspectives as well, and I really came around to wanting to be vegan, not just for health, but for the environment, which also I saw in Cowspiracy as well, and for the animals too. So it kind of came full circle. It's definitely started with health and then came around for everything else. So I lost 60 pounds in the first year of going vegan. I did start out fairly whole food plant-based, but slowly ended up gradually increasing the amount of processed foods in my diet. And I didn't do that intentionally. However, for a convenience, for sort of fitting in more in social situations, I did end up incorporating more processed foods into my diet. And I had chronic health issues before going vegan, and these issues would flare up from time to time after I went vegan. They improved quite a bit, but I also had flare-ups. And I didn't realize it at the time, but now in hindsight, I can look back and say, the reincorporation of those processed foods really, really negatively impacted my health. I've been diagnosed with severe asthma, endometriosis, and I've also dealt with chronic pain and fatigue that has gone completely undiagnosed. So those issues would flare up, and it got to a point where I was having a hard time doing daily activities. It was hard to get out of bed in the morning. It was hard to shower, to make food, to just do the day-to-day activities. There was no way I could do anything physical at all, like running or dancing or anything like that. No way. It was like maybe a 5-minute walk if I was lucky, and that was it. And so I was becoming very sedentary, and I had incorporated these processed foods into my diet. I was feeling down, so I was snacking a lot more, snacking on things that are not health promoting, like, chips and candy and things like that. And so I had kind of lost sight of where I started with being whole food plant-based, and my diet had devolved into looking completely different without me really realizing it fully at the time. I just wasn't being mindful and being fully aware of what I was doing. And so I had a really bad flare-up in 2019, and I decided to go on Dr. Goldner's hypernourishing protocol, which is essentially a raw diet with tons of greens, omega-3s, tons of water, and yeah, it was raw. And I never thought I would eat a raw diet in my entire life. I never thought I would go vegan, let alone raw vegan. So I did that for a little while, and lo and behold, it really, really improved my symptoms. Things were getting better, things were improving. I was having a reduction in pain, and I was breathing easier, and things were starting to slowly clear up a little bit. However, I live in Canada, and it was starting to get very cold outside, and eating raw food when it's cold out, I know some people do it and they love it, and that's great, but for me, I really wanted cooked food again. So I started to slowly reincorporate cooked foods, being very mindful about how I was doing that. And it was fine. My health has just continued to improve since that point. I'm fully recommitted to eating a whole food, plant-based diet with no oils. I'm working on moving more towards an SOS-free style diet of eating, which would be free of salt, oil, and sugar. I do love hot sauce, so that is something I'm working on. Maybe I'll play with working on a recipe for a salt-free version. I also did yoga teacher training, which I think has really helped me a lot in many ways. It helped me change my perspective about a lot of things, and I just learned a lot about myself and about building awareness. I also did a yoga therapy training, which was very beneficial. I noticed holding patterns and patterns of movement that I was doing that I was not even aware of. I was holding tension in places that I didn't even realize I had tension, and that was very helpful in my healing process as well. So as much as I credit Dr. Goldner's protocol as well as my consistent diet of whole plant foods, it was also down to other factors. Sleep hygiene was really important in getting a good rhythm that way. And doing yoga, taking yoga teacher training, doing yoga therapy, all of these things really contributed to my healing. So now I'm in the best health of my entire life. I can honestly say of my entire life. I've lost over 70 pounds. I'm feeling great, and I'm focusing less on what my body looks like and more on what my body can do. So I've taken up running again, and I'm training with my best friend to do a race coming up, a race for ourselves. It's because we're in the pandemic and there's not races actively going on right now, obviously. I'm having a lot of fun. I've started to do calisthenics, and I'm working on my handstands and having a lot of fun with that. And I have this joy for life and excitement about the future that I didn't really have before. And being on a whole food plant-based diet has changed my life completely. And I'm really excited to continue to share my journey, can keep learning, keep tweaking and refining my diet and lifestyle so that I can live the best life for me. So if you'd like to see more of me, there'll be more videos coming. Subscribe below. Check out my Instagram and my Facebook account if you're interested. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!